Hey everybody, welcome back. Gonna hang with me while I mix up, package out a couple weeks worth of dog food because I make homemade dog food for Hawkins, the dog who's currently being my supervisor and staring at me from above. That's what he does. But this past week has been very interesting for me. You all know, small podcast, really just getting going. Instagram is not very big, but Sunday last week I posted a clip out of the podcast in real form, and it's now had like 18,000 views and tons of comments and likes, and it's incredible, and you guys are awesome. But one of the comments got me. This is the clip first before I get into it. I guess that's more fair. If we actually lived in a patriarchy, the children would be with their fathers and they'd be turning out better. They would be more protected and less abused. They'd be less likely to be going to jail and more likely to succeed in life. So yeah, you know, arguing facts from a couple weeks back about statistics from single motherhood, which we all know are not great. And of course, as usual, there's always one who came in and said, "You've been brainwashed by the patriarchy." And at first I just rolled my eyes and carried on. But then after I slept on it, I thought about it and I was like, she's right. She's absolutely right. So today, I'm going to tell you exactly why I was brainwashed by the patriarchy. Welcome back to the Green Eyed Girl podcast. So I grew up, I have divorced parents. I got divorced when I was 3. I got my stepdad when I was almost 5. So he's been around forever. It's been really great, actually, having 2 dads. They're very, very interesting people who have shaped and formed my life. But my stepdad ran our household in a very patriarchal way. He was in charge. It was his house. Still is, still his house. But we were taught to respect our father and that he was in charge. And that goes for both. My stepdad told us all the time, and my mom as well, told us all the time, no, you're going to respect your dad and you're going to respect Fred. That was just it. There were no questions. There were no insults. There were no other options. You're going to respect your father. So that's how I grew up. I grew up with the old adage of, you just wait till he gets home. And it held. You kind of wanted to, like, if you were going to act up, you wanted to make mom mad enough that she'd just punish you, because if it was going to be, it was much more psychological, which makes us better people. So I was raised in a very patriarchal household. My stepdad's word was the last word. When he said we were going to move and we were going to do things, there wasn't a fight. There was just, we're going to do it. My mom grew up her whole life in the same town, and when he said, hey, we're going to move, we did. She was very sad. We moved up to Michigan. I believe we were there like 2 weeks when he came home and said, hey, stop packing because now we're moving to Indianapolis, right? So she just did it. She moved out of her comfort zone because it's his house. It's their life, you know? So that's how I grew up. I grew up with 2 dads that I was told I was going to respect, and if I acted disrespectfully, I was in trouble. And the truth is, looking back, it's a really great way to be raised. It's nice having a household that's ordered. It was really neat. My stepdad would come home from work and go straight into their room. We weren't allowed to, like, ambush him. He'd get to go into their room and decompress, and mom would go in and they'd talk and catch up on the day. And if we were in trouble, we sat out there and just sweated, waiting. Because when you were in trouble and mom smirked and said, you just wait till he gets home, it was on like Donkey Kong. Not because the punishment was going to be physical, but because he'd come out, grab a chair from the kitchen, sit it in the living room. He and Mom would sit on the couch. He'd very thoughtfully sit there and make you explain why you felt the need to disrespect your mother, his wife, in the household that he paid for, where he provided food and shelter and all of the things. And he expected you to answer. So you pretty much had to sit there and say, I am an idiot, that's why. And then get your punishment. I didn't get the punishment very often. I understood that there was a line to walk, and I tried to stick to it. So I didn't get in trouble very often. But it was your siblings knew what was happening. They knew you were in trouble, and you had to sit there and you had to explain yourself. We also had family dinner every night. We sat and we played a really great game called High, Low, and What You Learned. So the best part of your day, the worst part of your day, and what you learned that day. And when you said what you learned that day, you got challenged on it. You had to explain why what you learned is important, why it's relevant, why it's correct. So we weren't allowed to just sit there and blanket believe what was spoon-fed to us in school. We were actually taught to question. Taught to question everything. It made you actually think and actually learn when you had to defend your position on something from what you learned that day. And sometimes it wasn't quite that complicated. If you learned something, I was in musical theater, so, when I did tap dancing, sometimes what I learned that day was a musical tap dancing step, and there's nothing really to challenge on that front. But when it was things that we learned in school, that was there. It also taught us that we should be learning something new every day. So that's how I grew up, in a well-ordered household with my stepdad being in charge and my mother respecting him and teaching us to respect him and holding us to account to respect him, and our dad also. So, I grew up like that, and as usual, kids, we kind of rebel, right? So we go out in the world and we do what we want to do. But in doing what I wanted to do and going out into the world and seeing what's going on out here and having to live in it and work in it, you all know I've realized we live in a matriarchal hellscape. So having grown up in a patriarchal household that was well ordered and we were safe in and taught respect and humility and how to question authorities out in the world and how to carefully dissect what we were being taught in school systems and by friends and books and everything else in the world, and having our worldview constantly challenged. Coming into this chaotic, women-centric shithole makes you kind of wake up to the fact that the patriarchy is actually the correct and ordered way to live. And that's what I realized when that crazy chick snuck into my comment section and said, "You've been brainwashed by the patriarchy." Yes, dear, you're absolutely right. I was raised in a safe, well-ordered household where the rules were you don't start a fight, but you end one, where it was acceptable to end a fight if it was your sister being insulted, your mother being insulted, your family being insulted. We grew up with the old school rules. So if someone was talking shit about me at school and my brother slammed him into a wall for saying something heinous about me, he wasn't in trouble. And actually, he wasn't in trouble with the school either. I grew up in a household where my stepdad had my mom's back. So if we came home and teachers were being kind of assholes and doing some sketchy shit, which they did from time to time, my mother walked into the school. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so she showed up. When I had teachers who didn't like my brother and therefore treated me like crap, my mom showed up. And my stepdad had her back. When they played inappropriate radio stations on a bus that had me in 4th grade and my sister in kindergarten, and my brother said, hey, they're playing this, they're talking about sex and stuff, and I don't think it's appropriate for my little sisters, my mom found the superintendent of schools, and my stepdad had her back every step of the way. He made it so that she got to stay at home, so that she got to show up when shit hit the fan. So, yeah, I got to remain a kid. We lived in the middle of nowhere. And I got to be a kid. I got my innocence protected. We weren't the kids that teachers really wanted to mess with because our mom was a stay-at-home mom and she'd show up. Now, we were held to account. We were good kids. My brother was a little bit of a class clown, but it was mostly because he was bored. He's really smart and really bored, okay? Was not challenged. But that's how I grew up. So coming out and seeing the chaos now, seeing how many teachers are getting fired for inappropriate relations with young students. Oh, and don't be mistaken, that was happening at my high school while we were there. But we weren't the kids that were going to get messed with because we had a stepdad who gave my mother the privilege of staying home and a mom who was fearless and would just have lost her mind. So nothing bad happened to us. That's what the patriarchy gets you guys. And I know that's like a misunderstood thing and women think that it's, oh, some oppression. Nope, it's a privilege. It's an absolute unmitigated privilege, and my mother will say that every day, every single day, because she got to be there for us. And if she had the knowledge then that she has now, we probably would have been homeschooled, if I'm being honest with you. But coming from that, knowing what the protection of a real masculine man who's respected by his family is, and then coming out into the world that is just chaos. Men aren't allowed to be men. Men are demonized for being men. Women are told that they are lesser for being stay-at-home moms. And don't get me wrong, my mom had that pressure. She got treated like crap by a lot of working moms. But bad shit didn't happen to us because our mom was there. Our friends liked our house the best because our mom was there. Because when we all got in the vehicle at the end of the day with all of our friends, she asked us how the school day was, how we felt about things. And I think it's the most attention a lot of my friends ever got. And the same holds for my sister's friends. So, yeah, I was brainwashed by the patriarchy. Having a man lead a household and protect and defend his family and provide for his family is a beautiful thing. And then I walk out into the matriarchal hellscape every single freaking day of my life, and I sit here going, we need the men. We need the patriarchy back. So, to the lady in my comments who thought that that was an own to me, thank you, actually, for challenging me to think through this better and bring it forth, because you're right. Being brainwashed by the patriarchy was actually a glorious thing. I don't like the matriarchal hellscape. It really sucks. Epstein list people are just out here doing whatever. No accountability. That's what a matriarchy gets you. And it's been going on for generations now. And a lot of us are just over it. We woke up to it because many of us grew up in a well-ordered patriarchal household. And that's what we're going back to. So, men, I sincerely hope that you have wives who respect the hell out of you. I hope you lead your family and guide your family and follow God. If you don't, this is not the podcast to teach you how to do that. There's plenty of men out there to tell you what to do. I just sincerely hope that for you because I think it's the best thing. And women, wake up. This is a matriarchal hellscape. You hate it and you're miserable. Patriarchy's better for you. And everybody have a great day. Talk to you next time.